Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. So recently, the Globe and Mail released an extremely stupid smear story about conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, alleging that he worked with India to win the 2022 Conservative Party leadership race. This is entirely nonsense, but I'm not as good at explaining it as my friend Daniel Bordman, so I'm just doing this quick intro to mention why Daniel is going to be basically doing this whole video. Watch his video, listen to it carefully, because the details here are actually incredible. How the Globe and Mail could report what is effectively the exact opposite of what is actually going on when it comes to foreign interference with Pierre Poilievre. In fact, Poilievre was the man fighting back against foreign interference in the 2022 Conservative Party leadership campaign. But without further ado, here is Mr. Daniel Borden explaining it.
The stupidest story in Canadian politics has risen from the dead, as there's a new old disinformation piece in the Globe and Mail by Robert Fife and Stephen Chase, which alleges that the Indian government had interfered in the Conservative Party leadership race in favor of Pierre Poilievre, and sort of using the tack that, oh, Patrick Brown was about to win and they disqualified Patrick Brown. Oh, no. Okay, one, are we actually going to start to talk about like political parties disqualifying people as means of foreign interference? Because the Liberals disqualified two Indian Canadian candidates, Chandra Arya and Ruby Dalla, stole $700,000 from them combined, and then kicked them out of the party. And Chandra Arya is the only openly anti-Khalistan politician we have in Canada. The previous one, Ramesh Sangha in the Liberal Party, a Sikh himself, explained the problem in the Liberal Party, and he was kicked out. Fun fact, he had to have private security go protect him in a Tim Hortons in Brampton because of the Khalistanis there. Okay, that's a Sikh Canadian-born Sikh MPs were scared of these people. All right. So what is this whole thing about? The general allegations is that India was so scared of Patrick Brown. Now, listen, there's a reason why India would not like Patrick Brown. One, Patrick Brown is fully involved with the Muslim Brotherhood. Patrick Brown, two, fully involved with the Khalistan movement. Three, fully involved with the Tamil Tiger movement. All of them are destabilizing to Canada's interests. Number one, they shouldn't be in Canada. Number two, India also doesn't like them. Okay, fair enough. So his political campaign was like, let's delist the Tamil Tigers as a terrorist organization. Insane. It's an organization that openly promotes targeting and mass murdering civilians as part of their tactics. So we should consider that a terrorist organization. We don't need to get into Sri Lankan politics in this country. All right. Now, Patrick Brown also ran a fake campaign. The reason I say this, and I said this to the CBC, and they never published part of the interview, and one day I'll publish this little Patrick Brown attack they had on me, but they were going after me on this. And what I explained to the CBC and why they never aired it is the reason why Patrick Brown's campaign was utterly fraudulent and an act of foreign interference itself is if you look at the donation average. So the average donation to Patrick Brown's campaign was near the maximum in the donations, right? This is the sign of an astroturfed campaign, right? So in Canada, the legal limit is like $1,600 around donating. So one person can only give 1,600. I hate the system, but that's a story for another day. So the average donation to Patrick Brown, let's say if the maximum donation was 1,600, the average donation was like 1,575, like something crazy like that, where everyone was just giving the maximum, and very few individual people are paying, right? Pierre Poilievre had a much lower average donation thing because that shows real movement. Because if you're a real person, yeah, you might give the maximum if you're rich. But if you're like middle class and you're like, oh, I like this guy, I believe in him, here's $20, here's $50. That's what the average people give. Like, I'll give 20, I'll give 50, I'll give maybe 100, whatever. So the average donation is actually much closer to zero because the average person, right? A real campaign can have 1,000 people decide to give $20 instead of a couple people giving the maximum. So when you see a number right near the maximum, which Conservatives saw, this is a sign that it's not even these people giving. It's that usually someone from the top, an outside source, is giving a cash flow of money to a specific group of people for the purpose of pushing up a political candidate. That was Patrick Brown. So that's why Patrick Brown had an AstroTurf campaign. It was incredibly damaging. He was promising, again, to delist the Tamil Tigers. This is against Canadian security interests and all that. And the campaign itself was highly suspect. And that's why Patrick Brown was removed. Now, we could talk about, disqualifying people. Should you do it? Should you not? Democracy, Canada. One, everyone should disqualify Patrick Brown because that's his thing. When Patrick Brown led the Conservative Party of Ontario, disqualifying candidates was his thing. There was no democracy, just like Doug Ford now. And in the Liberals too, like internal party I talk about this all the time. So Patrick Brown does not get to cry foul on this account. Now, why is this coming up right now? Well, there's an accusation that that Pierre, they want to try and tie him to the Indian government. One, because the Liberals want to say foreign interference, and they, as I said, the entire Indian foreign interference scandal is BS. It's Pakistani foreign interference under the banner of Khalistan to distract from Chinese foreign interference, which is the problem. So here's Pierre Poilievre's star candidate in BC that he keeps palling around with, Harjit Singh Gill, who up until a couple years ago was an NDP man, but now he's running with the Conservatives. This doesn't sound like an Indian government operative to me if he's letting Khalistanis run under his banner, right? One of the deputy leaders of the party, Tim Uppal, referred to Harjit Singh Nijjar, who should not have been in Canada, I don't consider a Canadian citizen, as Nijjar, his brother, after he was killed by different Khalistanis. Okay, so here we are. We're in Canada, and you have the Globe and Mail pushing an old story. They've reported on this before. This is an old story being pushed once the writ is dropped to undermine the Conservative campaign on behalf of Mark Carney. So Mark Carney looks like he's made a deal with the Khalistanis. And I said that from the beginning because you saw most of the ideological bad actors, the CCP pawns, the Muslim Brotherhood pawns, and the Khalistani pawns, all instantly backed Mark Carney, which meant there was backdoor dealings in the Liberal Party saying that Carney's the guy. The fact that they disqualified Chandra Arya from even running and then put Carney in his seat. This is a tactic often extremists use of like dominance, right? It's a display of dominance. So it's the Liberal Party like putting their nutsack on the face of the Hindu community and going at the behalf of the Khalistanis. This is a means of social dominance and domineering, and to show that you should be worried that we run this country, the Khalistanis in particular. So that was Mark Carney's signaling. And now we're talking about Pierre being an Indian agent. And again, they don't have any evidence of it. And this entire story comes from Boz News, and Jaskin Sandhu, by his own admission, Jaskin Sandhu and Boz News. And Jaskin Sandhu was part of the Patrick Brown campaign. So you have Patrick Brown's people, after Patrick Brown got kicked out for foreign interference, then accusing Pierre Poilievre of foreign interference with no evidence, and then just saying someone in CSIS said this, Indian foreign interference. It's also stupid, okay? All of the whole CSIS plot of Canadian foreign interference. Daniel, a Canadian died and this and that. You wanted foreign interference, or you? This whole story is stupid. One, Harjit Singh Nijjar is not a Canadian. I don't consider him a Canadian. He should not. He doesn't have the same value of life as any other Canadian. He tried to get into the country illegally, was denied. Tried to fake marriage to get into the country illegally, was denied. Got into the country illegally in the third time. Why? Likely someone, Suk Dhaliwal, wrote a letter to get him. Liberal MP wrote a letter to get him illegally into the country. I don't consider him a Canadian. He should never have Canadian citizenship. He was then the head of the Khalistan Tiger Force. While he was in Canada, by his own admission, a terrorist organization offshoot of the Babar Khalsa, which, again, is a violent Khalistani terrorist group. The Babar Khalsa is actually listed in this country, and the Khalistan Tiger Force is an offshoot of this. The current replacement to our Sikh activist, human rights activist, Harjit Singh Nijjar, Arsh Dalla, who's now the head of the Khalistan Tiger Force here in Canada, he was involved in the largest shootout in Canadian history. Remember that story from a few months ago where that massive shootout? Arshala was at the center of it. There's videos of the man, I think it's in India, where he gets off the back of a motorcycle with a gun and just straight up executes someone and then gets on the motorcycle and drives off. You see his face, and this is why India wants to extradite him, because they have him on video committing first-degree murder, but we want to keep him here in Canada because he's a human rights activist, according to us. All right, so the people who call mass murderers human rights activists, and this is the whole Canada thing. All right, the Nijjar story, to break it back up. What CSIS is alleging, and our security apparatus, who I'm supposed to trust here, is that the Indian government started this thing. They killed Nijjar as revenge for Nijjar killing Malik. Now, what is this? It's fascinating that CSIS admits that India at least thought, and has, CSIS even admits that Nijjar's gang in some way was involved in the assassination of Rapotan Singh Malik. Now, why is this interesting that Malik died and they're using him? Well, he was one of the masterminds of the Air India bombing. I remember the largest terrorist attack in Canadian history, the Air India bombing. We've concluded that Tawinder Parmar was at the center of it. He was killed in India. We never got justice in Canada. There were two other leaders who should have been convicted, but they were acquitted because the people who testified against them and provided witness statements were assassinated before they could get to court. And CSIS ended up deleting a bunch of tapes and mismanaging and deleting a lot of their own evidence. So that's why Malik walked free. Okay, so Malik is one of the worst terrorists in Canadian history and Indian history, hated by the Indian government. Now, fast forward like 35 years, the Indian government kind of has a plan or an amnesty. You could say the kindness of their heart, or you could say they're being clever. They decide to all these Khalistanis who couldn't come to India to let them come to India where their families are. They want to run around Punjab. They just have to sign a letter that says that they believe India is a sovereign country and respect its territorial integrity. Basically, they just sign a letter that no Khalistani nonsense. So Malik was one of the guys who signed the letter, said, okay, I'm no longer a Khalistani. Let me go to India. He's old. He goes to India. He sees his family, comes back. This then caused an internal gang war in the Khalistani different gangs, where some of the hardcores who didn't get on the list or weren't taken off the blacklist started accusing the other ones of being Indian agents. These were hardened anti-India terrorists 15 minutes ago. They then started getting accused of being Indian agents, and then they started killing each other. So to recap, Hardap Singh Najar's gang, which is deeply still anti-India terrorists, they went after Malik's gang. And again, a lot of the shenanigans involved in immigration and drug running is through these people, but they started killing each other. So then the Indian government wanted to kill Nijar because Malik got killed. Do you understand? Okay. Malik is one of the worst terrorists in Indian history, right? He blew up an airplane full of Canadians and Indians. This is like saying Israel wanted, this is like if there was a Hamas operative in Canada, right? A retired Hamas operative who's kind of out of the game, but he killed, 50, 60 Jews in his day. And he got killed by a rival jihadi gang in Canada. And then do you think the Israelis would be like, no, not Khalid Mashal's brother. Oh no, we're going to conduct a clandestine operation on Canadian soil. That's the story by CSIS. It makes no sense. Nothing from the Canadian government makes any sense on this thing. It's purely deflection. It's a disinformation campaign to deflect from Chinese misinformation. And now it's being used by the Liberals to attack the Conservative Party, even though the Conservative Party themselves still has Khalistanis in it. Granted, much less than the Liberals, a lot less than the NDP, whose leader, Jagmeet Singh, is part of the Khalistani movement. So if we want to do something about foreign interference, we have to understand what the hell it is. And it's very clear at this point that there is some sort of corruption within the intelligence agencies. I'm not saying all the way through, but at some point, someone in CSIS or someone in the RCMP here has Khalistani sympathies in some way and is leaking something, or it's being made up, or Jaskrin Sandhu is just pulled this one out of his tuchus. Who knows? But it's pretty clear. This is a targeted disinformation attack from the Khalistani movement, backed by Pakistan, backed by China, against the Conservative Party of Canada. And they're using our very institutions, the Globe and Mail, the one that report on the Chinese foreign interference, to do so first. I think there's a reason why the Globe and Mail got rid of Sam Cooper, because I don't think Sam Cooper would have ever done something this stupid. But here we are. Where again, Pierre Poilievre is being accused of foreign interference. He won the first ballot at 68%. There was no Conservative leadership race. There was no race. There was no Patrick Brown. There was no Jean Charest. It was all an illusion. It was Pierre Poilievre all the way. No one ever thought anything different. But by reviving this story years later, when everyone forgets the Conservative Party race, they can then transfer the sins of Justin Trudeau, try and transfer them onto Pierre Poilievre. And if Pierre Poilievre doesn't do a good job of explaining this, then it's going to be a hard time for him to deal with it, because again, there are Khalistanis in his party and they're going to kick and scream if he tries to defend himself here. So it's going to be very interesting to see, what does the Conservative Party do right now? Because if they try and defend Pierre Poilievre from this, Tim Uppal, Jasraj Holland, Parm Gill, Sukhman Gill, all the anti-India agents in the Conservative Party are going to activate probably against them. And I would send my warning, If anyone in the Conservative Party is listening, high ups or Pierre or anyone, I'm going to explain to you. Khalistanis are more loyal to the Liberal Party than the Conservative Party. You might think you know these people. You do not. They're ideological extremists. Their first goal, their first priority is not Canada first. They are Khalistan first. And yes, they are there to help the Conservative Party and infiltrate, but at the end of the day, they will always do it in the best interest of the Liberal Party, because the Liberal Party is fully compromised by Khalistan, and there are no Canadian patriots in the Liberal Party who'd be willing to stand up to this. The Conservative Party still has people who believe in Canada and has Canadian patriots, and that's why they must be destroyed, because people who have a strong sense of national identity in Canada are harder to, bully with all this foreign bullshit. That's where we are. So I hope the Conservative Party learns its lesson. Stop promoting the Khalistanis. Every inch you give to the Khalistanis, they take from you. I guarantee you there are leaks coming from the Conservative Party, from the Khalistanis I mentioned, their party, to undermine you right now. So I'd fix that, or they'll fix you.